Eminem'S manager Paul Rosenberg and DJ Who Kid stopped by Tony Yayo and Uncle Murder's podcast, The Real Report. He gets asked the question, what is better, like physical CD sales or streaming? And he made such a good point that just flew over my head. I never thought about this.
I'll tell you what, streaming saved the music industry. Because if you recall, around 2015, right when streaming was starting, people weren't buying albums, right? Everybody was getting stuff for free. And there was no streaming. So there was no money pouring into the business at all, right?
Wow.
So all of a sudden streaming comes along. People start getting used to the idea that they can pay $10 a month or whatever it was to get everything, the whole history of recorded music, right? At their fingertips. So it's really, you're paying for the convenience of not having to download music, put it into iTunes, make sure it's labeled correctly, make your playlist. Like, you don't have to do any of that. It's all right there, right? So people it turns out, were willing to pay $10 a month for that convenience and for that service. And, when before we had people buying CDs maybe, every other month or, 5 times a year.
CD crack, you got to go buy the CD again if you really like it.
Yeah, but they weren't buying one every month necessarily.
Gotcha.
But now, you have people locked in to pay that I think now it's $12.99, whatever it is, a month.
Right.
Right? And people kept adopting it. Streaming numbers went up and up and up. The audience grew. And all of a sudden, the industry's making money again, right? So it saved the music industry. And, at the time, before streaming, the music industry revenue had decreased to 50% of what it was. Most industries don't survive that. You can't survive a 50% decrease in revenue. But somehow, they held it together, and the major labels stayed together, and they made it through. So it really saved things in a lot of ways. And I know people complain about
what the
streaming
artists
rates,
get paid, what the artists get paid off of it.
But the same people complaining about that weren't really selling CDs either.
Facts. Oh, look at that. That's crazy. That's a hard fact right there.
So of course the artists who are the biggest are going to make the most money because they are listened to the most, Is it entirely equitable? Could it be better? Probably, but it's not terrible.
Gotcha.
That just so that just shocked me. I just was mind blown by that concept. I don't know why. I just never thought of it that way, man. So sometimes when somebody words something and says something a certain way, it just puts a whole different perspective on it. So the music industry is healthy, man. They're eating, they're doing well. The artists complaining about not getting paid, like Paul Rosenberg said, they're the artists that just were never selling records in the first place.